Hello everybody. I'm standing under this tree because it's decided yet again to be 300 degrees here today. I think it's like in the mid to high 90s. All my horses are sweating. It is so not fun. So I wanted to show you my walnut tree, but I have to stand under the shade of a pecan tree in order to actually do this. So I don't know if you guys, I'm going to stand, that's the tree behind me. I don't know if you guys have nut trees on your farm or your homestead, or if you want one. The sun's like right in my eyes. There we go. I like having them. We have at least 20 pecan trees on this farm. I think we grow a new set of like 10 pecan trees every year. This property is very old. Actually, we have a pecan tree over there. I'll show you guys this pecan tree. Because when I moved here, I was like, you're kidding me, right? So we have what's called a witness tree, okay? And it's a really funny name, but it has a very specific purpose. So when this property was first surveyed back like way before Mark Twain's time, right? We're in Missouri. Mark Twain is Missouri, right? Way before Mark Twain's time, this property was surveyed, and they used this tree right here. This tree right here, you can see. So when we bought this property, we had the property surveyed, right? So we would know exactly where the boundaries were. Good fences, good neighbors, that whole thing, right? So the guy who did the survey came out here, and they do, I guess, a whole bunch of research when they research, the boundaries of a property. They came and they put this on the tree. Basically what it says, it's from the Department of Natural Resources, and we're not allowed to remove this. We're not allowed to remove the plaque, and we're not allowed to remove the tree, because when the property was first surveyed, like back when people first settled this area, this tree was used as a way to demark, where the property began and ended, and that whole sort of thing. So this is actually a pecan tree. So this tree has been around, I don't know how many years, but it's been around for 100, 150 years. I don't know if it's been around that long. Anyways, so this tree has been here for a long time. That's my point. This tree's been here for a long time. Basically what happened was the people who lived here just kind of like let things grow up wherever they grew up. And we're kind of sort of doing the same thing. We got pecan trees growing out there. You can tell a pecan tree. I was going to show you guys the walnut tree, but I guess I'm showing the pecan tree anyways. Pecan trees have these leaves. See that? That's pecan tree. So that's how I know we got pecan trees growing out there. Even though they're young and they're not producing nuts yet, that's how I know that they're pecan trees. But nut trees are nice to have because, especially pecans and the walnuts. I got walnuts in my hand right here. I'm going to show you guys these things. They produce a lot of nuts every year. So every freaking year, we're probably harvesting at least 100 pounds of pecans. And depending on the year, maybe 10 pounds of walnuts. We just got the one walnut tree. We got some growing back there. But this is the one that's really producing. Last year we got nothing because the dang squirrels, we didn't have our cats then, which is a big reason why we have cats now. The squirrels took off all the husks, which are these things, before they even like matured into walnuts. We had so many squirrels. Now we just have like 1 or 2 squirrels that hang around. And so we've been able to harvest some this year. So the walnuts are coming into season at this point. It's a little bit early. I was a little bit surprised. Usually it's like September, October when they come in. We got a guy around here who is like, your pecan trees won't come into season until November. They come into season like September, October. It was really funny. The guy was like, what do you mean like all your pecan trees are shedding pecans right now? And I'm like, come to our house. It's like it's everywhere. So anyway, so the nice thing about nut trees is they produce a lot. They obviously don't require a lot of care, right? I mean, they're trees. And there's a lot of protein, obviously, in nuts. So if we really were like really organized, and we could get ourselves together for it, which we're not, we could actually probably put up like, I want to say like 10 to 15 jars maybe of pecan butter every year. Maybe I'll try this year. I got nothing else going on, right? Nothing else going on in this homestead. I'll try pecan butter. Anyways, but there's people around here who shell them for you. So we might do that this year. The problem I ran into last year is I didn't have a lot of time to go out and pick them up because you do have to pick them all up by hand. Yes, they do have pecan harvesters, but there's been plenty of people around here who are like, I'm going to start a pecan farm. And they invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into equipment only to find out that they're never going to make their money, right? Their money back. So we do everything kind of like by hand when it comes to that kind of stuff. I might buy one of those rolling machines this year just to save my back because I can't bend as well as I used to. But I wanted to show you guys this walnut tree here, and I'll show you the different phases of nuts. If you've never had nut trees and you never harvested them, the first year you might be kind of like, how is this and what do I do, right? So the first year that we were here, I knew that these were pecan trees because everyone was like, you have pecan trees. And I'm like, yeah, we got 20 pecan trees. Thank you very much for enlightening me. But I didn't know that this was actually a walnut tree. And nobody else knew what it was either, which I thought was really, really interesting because people around here like to claim that they know what they're talking about, but nobody could identify the walnut tree. So, hold on, let me put all this stuff here. Because I'm holding onto a lot of different nuts here. So, when nuts grow, they don't just grow nuts, right? They grow in these things called husks, okay? So, hold on, this one's a better one to use. So they grow in things that look like this, okay? So what happens is, this is like the womb, so to speak, right? If the nut's the seed, this thing is like the fruit, the womb thing. So they grow in these things. What eventually happens is these things stop growing because the sun changes, they don't get enough light, the plant is ready to fully reproduce, and they split like this. Okay, when they start to, and the nut inside is getting larger and larger, right? Because it's putting more energy into producing the seed so it can reproduce. So they get like this and they split. Once they start to split, they start to dry out. And this is what it looks like. Okay, so it looks like this thing. You can flake it off like that. And look, inside there, there's a walnut. Can you guys see that okay? There we go. And then once you get that thing off, here's your walnut. So my first year here, I didn't know that. And so it was funny because I spent 25 years out here, not like 25 years, but I spent like, my first year I spent a long time pulling pecan husks off the tree and then opening them up myself, and half the time I couldn't open them. When if I had waited like 3 weeks, they all just would have opened up on their own. So key point to take away, wait until it's actually ready to be harvested. The plant will tell you when it's time to harvest them. You might be curious why I've pulled these ones off. And it's because this is basically ready to go. All I got to do is pull the husk off and it's ready to go. I don't trust these squirrels because last year they totally screwed me over and I didn't have any walnuts and I was really, really upset because we were going to have like a bumper crop and then these jerks ate all my walnuts. So you pull the husk off, it's totally fine. Once it gets to that split stage, you can do that. I'll chance it with this one because I know how far along they are. But usually if it's like this, in most cases, it's not going to, either you're going to have to work really hard to produce it. You're going to have to work really hard to get it out of here, or it's just not going to be fully mature. It's not going to taste good. I don't know about walnuts because I haven't been around them long enough to be able to say this. I have a lot of experience with pecans. In years that are rainy, lots of moisture, lots of rain, pecan nuts inside the shell will get this film on them that's bitter tasting. So if it's been really rainy, it's going to have that. You can still eat them. They still taste okay. They're probably better to put in baked goods than to eat raw at that point. And you might want to wash them a little bit. I can't tell you if that happens to walnuts because we have not had enough harvests with enough diversity to actually, for me to say that. Every walnut I've harvested off this property has been fine. So maybe it's not an issue with walnuts. Maybe it's just an issue with pecans. But that's basically the deal with nuts. They can take, depending on the type of nut, it can take a long time. I think like pecans, it's like 10 years before they start to produce nuts. So walnuts is less than that. We had a black walnut tree over there. I'm not sure I have to go look at it. I'm not sure what it's doing right now. It produced some walnuts, and it's clearly fairly young. I know this because of the size of it and the size of the branches and the trunk and everything. It's still, fairly thin. So I don't know if walnuts don't take quite as long, but I know pecans can take quite a long time. So, I mean, plant them now. When you're retired, you can probably start harvesting. You might be able to cut off a few years if you buy some more mature trees. It's going to be more expensive, but, best advice is that if you don't have it yourself, if you don't want to do it yourself, find somebody who has the trees and offer to collect them. They probably will let you take them because it's a pain in the butt to harvest these things. What I do, I'll put these right here. Actually, I'm not going to put them right there because I don't trust the squirrels are not going to take them. Literally, I was so angry last year. I was ready to shoot every single squirrel that walked on my property for taking my my walnuts. So, I'll show you what this looks like in the tree. That's what it looks like on the tree. This one is not ready to harvest because it hasn't even split yet. There's no point in harvesting this one. Here's one. So this is what it looks like on the tree. I don't know if you can see that, and just pull it off. Like, it's so simple. I've noticed with, I'm going to put these on the, hold on. I'm going to put these on the car, but I won't forget them. I hate losing, freeloading squirrels, right? So what was I going to say? Okay. So like these two, for example, I'll probably pull this one off. If it's not ready, I was going to say that. If it's not ready to come off, it's not going to I don't want to pull this one off because I want to wait till it's ready, but they won't necessarily twist off very well. I've kind of noticed that with some of these nuts. If they're not easily coming off, then they're not ready to harvest. So let's see what else we got here. We got this one. Like, you can see with this thing, hold on, let me get on this shade so you can actually see me. Like, you can just see, like, it just pops right off. It should. It would if I had two hands. I'm not using two hands right now. Oh, there it goes, see? It's just coming right off. That's how you know. So even though some of these are not fully split, usually, like, what I do is I wait till they're fully split and then they're dried. And that's how I harvest them. But like I said, tomatoes, nuts, sometimes peppers, I harvest them a little bit prematurely because animals like to get at them. Berries. So what else we got here? Let's see. I don't know. If they're high up, like a lot of these are high up. Hold on. Like, it's hard to see because of the sun. You can see right now. Like, see how high up that is? That's just, it's too high up for me to get. What I'll do is I'll grab a garden rake and I'll just yank it down. I'm not too worried about damaging the plant itself because this thing has been here for a long enough time that I think it's going to take a lot more than me poking it with a garden rake to hurt it. So that's basically the deal with walnuts. So we collected a walnut together. We accomplished something today. That's good. The other thing you'll find is you'll find them on the ground also. I don't find them on the ground so much anymore. I did find one earlier today. I use my feet. Okay, it sounds really stupid, but when I harvest nuts off the ground, I actually don't usually wear shoes because I want to, like, if it's in longer grass, for example, or like pecan trees, pecans come in different varieties. Like, all nuts come in different varieties, right? But pecans, you get... Yes, you're right, Cindy. Cindy said you can color your hair with walnut holes. You can. The holes, you can, actually. How I know this, and you can do it with pecan trees, pecan holes, too. You know how I know this? Because that first year that I harvested all those pecans and I split them open myself, my fingers were stained brown for like a month. It was ridiculous. I have made it past when I harvested the, remember when I harvested the elderberries the other day and I was like, my fingers are all stained purple. It came off like that night, so it was no big deal. But when I harvest, this is like a pro tip. When I harvest nuts off the ground, I use my feet to find them. The reason why is because the grass tends to be kind of long. And pecans, what I was saying is pecans have different varieties. There's the larger varieties, which is what you buy at the store, and then there's native varieties. The native varieties are these little tiny ones. They're much more prolific. They got good flavor, but they're very, very small. They're literally like, the size of my eye, right? Let's go with that for comparison. So it can be a little bit tough to find them unless you want to spend 100 years on your ground, on your hands and knees searching for them. But your feet will tell you a lot. So if you are walking around and you step in a little bump, you know to check if it's a pecan or if it's a rock or something, right? So this morning when I was walking around, I was going to go do a live stream on my other page about blogging. I stepped in a big lump like this, right? A big lump. And you got to look because it could be a rock, it could be a walnut, but it ended up being a walnut. So like right here, for example, I am seeing one right here. See, now this one, I got a guy driving by. They get all nosy and they look at our place. We had a guy drive by yesterday with his kids. They were on an ATV and they drove so slowly by. And I think it's because the kids wanted to see the animals. But I really don't like when people drive slow by my house. Anyways, so this one is not open. I might try and open it up just to see what happens, but I wouldn't put too much, like, I wouldn't be too excited about what was in here because it might be too immature. But that's one we just collected also. So I wanted to show you the pecans really quick. So this is a pecan in its hull. This is the pecan in its hull. I know from my very extensive pecan experience, I have a master's degree in pecans. This is not going to be worth anything. While this one with the walnut may have a walnut something in it, this is not going to have pecan anything in it. It will be dry. It will be too hard to get anything out of this husk, right? So I throw these back. Don't collect these. They're not worth anything. If the squirrels want them, if the pigs want them, more power to them. I don't want it. It's too early for the pecans really to be falling, but I'm looking here and seeing what I can find. So, you know, this branch is like falling down. I hit these dang branches every time I drive into my driveway, but there's not even any nuts on them. I don't know why they're dragging down. So here. Hey, boss. My cat's here. So those are pecans on the tree. Those are pecans. So what's going to happen is the exact same thing. It doesn't look like they're anywhere near ready to come down. And this guy, the guy that tells me, oh, they'll be ready in November. These will be ready, I can guarantee you, 6 weeks from now. By their size, they'll split open. They'll dry and they'll split open. He's like, are they this year's pecans? And I'm like, yeah, they're this year's pecans. I told you they were. Because we were the very first year we were here, we were going to try and see if we could sell them. It's not worth selling them. We got like 50 cents a pound. And I'm like, I can eat 50 cents a pound more than you can pay me, right? It's not worth it. But let me see if I can crush one of these. Okay, hold on. See, this is the other way, you know. I just crushed this with my foot. The shell's not even done, right? You can tell. So that's what's actually inside of it. Hold on. There you can see it. So the shell's not done. And there's a nut in there, but it's not finished growing, and it's wet. It's nothing. It's not even food. It's maybe food for a squirrel, but it's not food for me and you. This, on the other hand, this is probably one from last year. Hold on. Yeah, see, I can't even open that one up. If they've been on the ground for a year, they're not good. I wouldn't bother with them. They're usually, whatever was in there isn't there anymore. But yeah, I can't show you what a pecan looks like right now because we don't have any growing. But you know, I can show you an interesting comparison. So that the pecan I just showed you, the pecans I just showed you are modern varieties where they're larger, right? They're bred to be larger. Modern being not native, right? Modern is comparative to been here since the beginning of time, right? So the native ones, they might not even be like, I might not even, oh no, here's some. So the native ones, this is what they look like. You see that? They look a little bit different, don't they? They're longer, they're smaller, the more almond shape as opposed to like I don't know, oval shape, I guess. I don't know. So, boss, I don't like you over here. Let's go over here, okay? We're by the road. I don't want boss by the road. Come on, boss. Nicole, you're going to get sparked by that electric fence if you don't stop that. My horses are tempting fate. Our electric fence is so, like, much voltage that it's not pleasant to touch it. For horses or for us. But even with the dang electric fence, they still get out. Listen, yesterday was my son's first day of preschool, right? I had rabbits get loose, which if that's fixed, that's fine. Sorry, boss, don't step on my foot. And we go to take my son to school. 10 minutes before class starts, because we're pretty close to the school. One of my horses is loose, and I'm looking at him like, how did you get out of your pasture? Because it's all electrified. And it's not like, ding. It's like you touch it as a human being, it's going to hurt, right? Because these horses are like masters at getting out. So that was, I don't know what to say about that. Oh, here's another one. Here's another walnut husk. See, the reason it's over here, this is a pecan tree. The squirrels steal them and then drop them. That's why it ticks me off so much when they get them. Because it's like they're not even using them. Like they just drop them. They steal our food and then drop them. It irritates me. Alright guys, so that is, what is this? That's the deal with walnuts. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it has enlightened you. If you really want to get the most bang for your walnut buck, right? Do what Cindy says, and you can hold on to these things. And you can, I'll hold on to mine this year and I'll show you guys how to do this, but you can hold on to these and you can dye stuff with them. You can dye your hair, you can dye yarn, you can dye, I mean, this is actually one of the oldest ways that people have used to dye clothing, right? Dark brown. So I'll save some of these this year and I'll show you guys how to do that. But I hope you've enjoyed the walnut, the dance through our walnut pasture, right? The dance through our pecan pasture. I will probably be doing many, many more live streams on pecans because pecan season's coming up. Alright, bye guys, thanks for watching.